microphone. Okay, we're live. I forgot to turn my microphone on. I need to look at the camera too. I have to flip it around so that I can see it. Just a second here. Oh, okay, we're here. Now I can see myself in the camera. My microphone is still on. Oh, we have Mark Gillette here. Welcome to RockSim Live. I'm Tim Van Milligan. I'm your host and comic relief for the day. I got a monitor over here. That's what I'm looking at, making sure that everything's working, making sure the microphone's working. Oh, yeah, this is a great day. It's Friday, April 22, 2022. This is episode number 65. I'll have to check on that in just a second. Welcome to RockSim Live. We're going to talk about RockSim. I got other things to talk about too, just for fun. We have Carlos from Marietta, Georgia. He is in the house. We have Dagoberto from Brazil. Okay, we're international again. Cool. Welcome, Dagoberto. Yeah, so this is great. This is where we're going to learn about RockSim. As you can see, I've got two computers here today and a monitor because I got a question that came in that I want to answer. But first, let me tell you a little bit about RockSim. See if you. Oops, let me turn on my screen so you can see my screen. Turn on my screen. There we go. This is the Apogee website, apogeerockets.com. This is where you're going to find RockSim. What we're doing right now that you're listening to or you're watching is RockSim Live. And this is here. If you click on that, it will take you to our archive page. We're on episode 66. This is how I know, because I'm looking at the archive page and it says April 15th, which was last Friday, was episode 65. So now we're on 66. So on this page, you will find all the previous episodes and all the topics that we talked about. Will Apogee sell a level 3 rocket kit? Obviously we talked about that. That's cool. Come here to learn the previous archives. There's a lot of good information here. If you want to look for something specific like pods, let's say if I wanted to learn about pods, on your keyboard hit Control F on Windows and Command F on a Macintosh, and then what will happen is you'll get a little search bar here at the top, and then just type in what you're looking for. Like if I type in the word pod, it says that we talked about it 6 times, and then it will list them. Like here's one in episode 63, attaching pods to your rocket. And then if you go to that YouTube video and you go to 51 minutes and 24 seconds, you will find that topic. So you don't have to scrub through everything. That's how you find things fast. I'm all about finding things fast. So that's what you would do. To get RockSim, you go to How To and Guides, come down here to Software, click on that. You can download the free trial. Today, there's been dozens and dozens of school kids that have been downloading RockSim trial. And every time somebody downloads it, I get a little notification. And when the schools do it, I get them all the time, so I can see them all come in. And the kids, they don't want to give out their email, so they'll put in Ben Dover as their name. Like I haven't seen The Simpsons a million times. So they put in all kinds of weird stuff along with weird email addresses, and they don't get the software unless you actually give an email, because we send out, and this actually just started a couple weeks ago, we're starting to send out an autoresponder on information on how to use RockSim, because I know it does have a learning curve. So there's a series of like 10 emails that go out to brand new people that just walk you through certain things in RockSim. You know, how to open a design, how to run a simulation, you know, simple stuff. So you can get up over that learning curve real fast. And so those students will get those emails too, but if they enter a wrong email address, it just goes into the black hole of oblivion. If you are a school and you're working with kids, what I would suggest is just one person download it and just stick it on a flash drive and then just stick it in all the computers, because it's a lot faster than downloading. Even though downloading is pretty quick nowadays with high-speed internet, trust me, it's faster. Just sticking it on a flash drive and just moving the flash drive from computer to computer and just, you know, installing it that way. And I wish these kids would do it that way, because, you know, it puts a lot of stress on our server, because every time somebody downloads, yeah. So that is where you get the free trial. There's a feature list, the frequently asked questions, version history. I was messing with this a couple weeks ago, because about 2 weeks ago, I think I announced that we're going to be doing a update, and I started on this page. You can see version 10.4, and there is changes for version 10.4. It tells you it's coming soon, not available as of today. Because somebody saw this and then called us up and they said, I can't get the download. I'm sorry for that. I was getting a little bit ahead of myself. So I'm noting all the new features added. There's 3 new features, possibly a number 4 that they're still working on. And then they're working on all these bugs. Well, they're all fixed now. So in version 10.4. Currently, the latest one that I'm running is version 10.3.1. And that one was released last June. So it's about 10 months since our last release. But in the meantime, since we've done that, we've released the launch visualizer, and that's been taking up a lot of our time. So the launch visualizer, if you haven't used it yet, it's at RockSim.com. Just go to RockSim.com and you can try it out. So that's the version history. Also in how-to and guides, go to software, and here's the tutorials. This is kind of like what we recommend people watch, because it's specifically for the first timer. You know, what we're doing here in the RockSim Live, we're getting the hard questions. But this is for the beginners, you know, kind of walk you through the basic stuff. Yeah, and then there's all kinds of good stuff. There's RockSim Live Training, which I just showed you. The RockSim Pro has its own set of videos. Yeah, I think I might be working in RockSim Pro today, if there's time. If you have a question, I forgot to announce this. If you have a question, you go ahead and put it in the chat right now. The reason I'm here is to answer your questions, you know, those hard questions that you have, and I want to get them going. Johan is here. He's from the Netherlands. Bend over. Wasn't that the director of the Skunk Works one day? Yes. I don't know. Anyway, what else is going on? In the chat, I put, what was the least boring thing you did in the last 24 hours? So I've got 2 things that I thought were not boring. The first one, I don't know if you can see this. You can't see it when I got the small screen here. You can't even see it on that screen. Let me go here. This one. There we go. So this is one of the least boring things. We're going to be selling t-shirts soon, because everybody always asks us, you got an Apogee t-shirt? And the answer was no, but we're ordering some. Actually, we're ordering the shirts and the designs, the decals, like you see on my shirt here. You can't see it right there. We invested in a heat press. And so we can now heat press artwork, vinyl artwork onto shirts, onto fabric, just like you see on my shirt. And I don't know if you noticed, but this is week number 2 for this shirt. Because my old shirt, which I've had, it just was still in great shape, but I had it for like over 10 years. Shh, don't tell anybody that I can wear clothing that long. I washed it all the time, but what you saw here in RockSim Live and in all the advanced construction videos that I do every week was that one shirt. And I take it out to the launch field. So this is my first, the least boring thing. I take it out to the launch field, and 2 weeks ago I took it out to the launch field and it was laying down, and I hit the brakes on my car real hard because somebody in front of me stopped, and all the stuff in the back came flying forward, including a super glue bottle without a lid on it. And guess where that super glue bottle landed? Right on the shirt. And you know what happens when you get super glue on fabric? It's ruined. It instantly hardens. And I didn't know it. But my daughter was sitting next to me in the passenger. She says, "I smell super glue." Because you know that smell of super glue when it kicks off and it makes your eyes water. Well, she smelled it and she found the bottle. She flipped it back up, but by that time there was a puddle, that big on my shirt. So the shirt was ruined. So I got a new shirt, and then we went out and we got the heat press, and we have a vinyl printer that we use to print our decals, and we discovered that we can actually print on this vinyl that's specifically made for fabrics. We've had this decal printer now for I don't know how many years, and we just discovered that we could do shirts. So now we're going to be doing t-shirts like here, and we're going to give you a couple of options. You're going to be able to choose, what goes on the front. You can have a big logo on the front. You can put the small logo, like right behind the collar on your neck. You can put 2 big ones, one on each side. And so we're as soon as the shirts come in, we can start selling them because we have the artwork. And but right now the only color is going to be gray, like you see here, because there's 6 different sizes, from small, medium, large, extra large, extra large. There's 6 different sizes. So we're going to get a whole bunch of each because we don't know which one's going to go fast. And then after that, so our initial order is 60 shirts. And that's a lot of shirts. That's like I could outfit 2 whole clubs, 2 whole rocketry clubs. So we'll see how fast they sell through, and then see if we want to add other colors. And so a lot of people, when they come to Apogee, and you're welcome to visit Apogee, this is a tourist destination. This is like the mecca of rocketry. And so people come in here from all over the town, all over the country, and some people from all over the world. They come in here and they want to see Apogee. So we give them a tour, and they want to take a souvenir home. And we want them to buy rockets, but they want a souvenir of Apogee. So we're going to have the shirts, but we'll also put them on our website. So that's the first least boring thing that happened to me. And then the second one, I'm looking over here. I got my first RockSim question. The second one is, I don't know if you can see this. This is my cutting board, and this has been in all my videos, all my advanced construction videos, and it's actually been here in the RockSim Live because it usually is on my desk. And I don't know if you can see this, but it's warped. And when I'm doing the advanced construction videos, people keep telling me, "Tim, get a new cutting mat. Yours is all warped." And like my shirt, I've had this thing for a long time. And I was trying to figure out why it got warped. because for the longest time it just was flat. And today it hit me. So this is the least boring thing so far today, is like every now and then something goes through my mind. Like, why did it get warped? And then I figured it out. This computer gets kind of warm and toasty. The fan is on. I don't, you can't hear it, but the fan is on. And so it gets nice and toasty, and it's softening the plastic, and then it relaxes, and then it cools off when I'm done, and then all the stress comes back into the plastic, and that's how it warped. So I got a new cutting mat, but it's not going to appear here in the RockSim Live. It's only going to appear in the advanced construction videos. And I just made one this morning, so it got its first camera debut this morning, and you'll see that in 2 weeks if you're a subscriber to our newsletter. So if you're not a subscriber to the newsletter, you know, if you go to the Apogee homepage, let me go back to the main screen here. You can see right here there's a banner that says sign up for the newsletter, and so sign up for that. And when you get the newsletter, you get three things. First you get 25 free rocket plans. You get a book, and it's a good book, and people love it. And people always ask, and they're always sending photos of the rockets they built from the plans. And I love to see them, so keep those coming. Because people decorate them a little bit different from what the plans do. And so it's always so cool to see them. And then so you get that for just signing up. And then you get our newsletters, which the Peak of Flight newsletter. And if you go here to How-To and Guides, come down here to Peak of Flight newsletter, and you'll see these are the last 3 issues. So we're on issue number 571. And when you open these up, it's like a magazine, and you can print them out. And I know people print them out and they put them in binders, because there's really good stuff like you know, how to make chrome-plated fins. And I showed you my technique on how to do that. Let me get down here to the bottom where you can see a finished one. There, not there, right there. Here's a finished one. You know, you can see right here, it's mirror finish. You know, and that's balsa wood, so it's like super lightweight. So if you've ever really wanted to do that, you know, I show you how to do that kind of stuff in the newsletter. And then you also get the advanced construction videos. And there's let's see, if you go back up here to How-To and Guides, come down here to advanced construction videos. We're on video number 355, which went out on Tuesday. And that one was how to repair a zipper in a body tube. So you get really good information. Oh, you know, when you subscribe with Apogee, we're not going to spam you. We're going to give you good stuff that's going to help you become a better modeler. Okay, so those are the 2 least boring things that have happened to me in the last few days. So let's go to the questions. So we got 2 questions, one from Carlos. And Carlos says, Apogee sells cool styrofoam ejection plugs in various sizes. Add one in RockSim. That's pretty easy to do. So what's an ejection plug? So you go into the RockSim and you just type in, let me first click off of that. Ejection plug. Just type it in here and you'll see what these ejection plugs look like. And if I click on it, so these are the ejection plugs, and what they're used for is to push the parachute out. And they seal completely. They're made out of styrofoam, so they're lightweight. They're reusable. They actually don't burn, even though they are, you know, polystyrene foam. They just come shooting out, and I always collect them on the ground because they don't biodegrade because they are plastic. So always try to find them on the ground, pick them up, reuse them. But we make them in smaller sizes because that's where they're most used in small rockets. Like they're a piston, and they're typically used in like parachute rockets. When you're trying to pack a big parachute into a tiny little tube, you want to make sure it comes out, and a piston is the best way to make sure everything comes out. So that's that. So how do you put one of those into RockSim? So let's open up a design. I'm in RockSim Pro. I'm going to open up this Estes Baby Bertha. That's the first thing that popped up. Okay, so here's the Estes Baby Bertha, and I actually have one here sitting on the table. We just got these in, and they'll go on sale within the next 2 weeks. I got to finish building the web page for them. It's not a new kit, but it's a new kit to us. It's just so cute. So that's the Baby Bertha, and so we're going to put an ejection plug in it. So let me look at it in a side view, and let's go. So basically, the easiest way to do it is to just use a mass object. So you come here to Design Components, and it's going to go into this body tube. So you always got to highlight the tube you're going to put it into. So I'm going to put it into this tube, and I'm going to use a mass object. So mass object. I'm going to cancel out of the database because I don't think it's in the database. And let me make this screen bigger so you can see it. Let me go into 2D on this particular screen. Come on. There we go, right there. So right now the mass object is the colored object, and it's right here, but we want to put it below the piston. So you just slide the location back here. I'll put it below this is probably the shock cord right there too as well. So I'll just put it right there, and we'll call it the ejection plug. Give it a name so you can tell it apart. And then we need to know the mass. And if you don't know the mass, you can come to the Apogee website. We don't have one for a BT60, which is what this tube is, but we do have one for a 40 millimeter nose cone, for a 40 millimeter tube, which is this one. So what I'm looking for is the mass. And so a BT60, which is what the Baby Bertha is 41.6 millimeters in diameter. This right here is 40 millimeters, 40 millimeter foam ejection plug. So I can find its weight right here, 0.6 grams. So these things like weigh nothing. So I'm just going to use that as my mass. So here in RockSim, just under the mass, just what did I say, 0.06? I'll make it 0.6. Hit tab. Okay, and you can see, that was hardly nothing. So that's the easy way to do it. Now another way, if you want something that looks like a picture, like a plug, you can use a bulkhead. So I'm going to delete this. First I'm going to delete this. So what I did to get this little menu was I right-click on the plug, the component, and then that brings up this menu, and then I can just select delete and say yes, delete that. Okay, so now let's put in a bulkhead. You saw these things just look like bulkheads, so we're going to put in a bulkhead. So here's the body tube. Come over here, come down to bulkhead, click on that. It's always looking in the database, so I'm going to cancel out of that. Let me make this screen bigger so you can see it. Okay, so right now the bulkhead is in blue, right there. The thickness of that bulkhead, you can get that from the website, but this is 1 inch because I know we cut them out of 1 inch foam. So now it's 1 inch, and then again, just slide it back here below the piston, but in front of the motor mount tube. And then we got to select the material, and then I'm going to say urethane foam. This is probably going to be the closest material in the database to styrofoam because it's really light. We select that, and it says that this would weigh 2.88 grams. So the material is actually not light enough. So what you would do then, is come over here to mass override and say I'm going to mass override it, and the mass of this component is 0.6 grams. Hit tab. So now the mass, you can see it says the mass override is on, so it ignores this right here. This is calculated, but we're using override for this component. And the CG, you need to put in a CG of that component. Since this is a cylinder, it's going to balance. That's the center of gravity of that component is right in the middle. So it's, and I made it 1 inch long, so right in the middle would be a 1/2 inch, so 0.5 inches. And that's where that mass is. And then you could, let's call this ejection piston. The only problem with doing it this way, and I think maybe this is what Carlos's question is this piston doesn't get ejected in RockSim. It doesn't get ejected at ejection, because it's actually a mass object, or it's a component in the rocket. So to kick it out of the rocket, we would need to have it drop off the rocket at ejection. And the way to do that, now this is getting really complicated. For something like a 1/2 gram, I wouldn't worry about the weight of the object, because what the concern might be is we got extra weight in the rocket, and now we got it coming down on a parachute, and because it has more weight, it should be falling slower or faster because there's more weight. And technically that's true, but it's only a 1/2 gram. So it's kind of like, yeah, it's probably not going to account for anything. But if you are a real stickler for weight, and I know a lot of you are, how would you account for that? Okay, so this is a new topic. Accounting for weight of things falling off. So what are things that can fall off of a rocket? Well, one of them is stages. You know, if you have a multi-stage rocket, you have those lower stages falling off. And the other thing is strap-on boosters can fall off. And those are the only two things that actually leave the rocket. So we can only choose one of those two things to try to duplicate the mass going away. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a pod, like a strap-on booster pod falling off, but this is internal, but it's going to fall off. So how do we do that? Okay, so we're going to create a pod. So again, it's got to be attached somewhere. I'm going to leave this right here because I'm going to do a copy and paste. So we're going to attach a pod and come over here to the component called pod. Click on that. And notice, so the pod, what happens first is it puts a placeholder. So a pod is another item where we can add parts below it. Kind of like over here where it says sustainer. This is a placeholder. We're adding parts below it. So the pod, we're going to add parts below it. So the pod by itself is nothing. It's a fictitious thing until we add components to it. But notice right here it says this pod can be ejected during simulations. And so we're going to say, yeah, we want this to eject. So this is going to be our pod, and let's call it the ejection plug pod. Okay, and then we're going to move the location, and the location I'm going to move it is I'm going to move it to where the pod is currently right now. So right now it thinks it's right here. I'm going to move it right there and click OK. Okay, so now we have the pod, and where to go? Okay, so here's our pod, and now we're going to add parts to it. So I wonder if I click on this, I can't add I can't add a bulkhead because this is a bulkhead. I can't add a bulkhead to the pod because it's not listed right here. But what's a bulkhead? A bulkhead is actually a cylinder that's a solid cylinder, so you can't, it's not hollow like a tube. But if you took a tube and you made it solid, essentially you have a bulkhead. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to add a tube to this, and I'm going to do the same dimensions as this ejection plug here. So here's, I'm going to add a body tube. First, it always looks in the database. I'm going to cancel out of that. So we're going to call this ejection plug. Okay, my cursor's in the way. I can't see where I'm typing. Okay, the outside diameter is going to be the inside diameter of a BT60. Oh, what is the diameter of a BT60? 1.637, 595, I think. And then the inside diameter, see it drew it right here. The inside diameter is 0 because we don't want it to have a unit. We want it to be solid, so no inside diameter. And then the length is 1 inch. Okay, so here we have a plug, but it's on the outside of the rocket, and that's no good. You know, you can see it in 3D being on the outside of the rocket. It's hanging off the side of the rocket. We want to put it on the inside of the rocket. So how do you do that? But before I do that, we got to change the material to something that's super duper light. Again, I'll turn this to, let's make it soft foam, see if it's, if we can get the weight. That's lower weight, but still not enough. So I'm going to do the mass override trick again. Just like we did before, click on that, say 0.6 grams, and the CG is 0.5 inches. Okay, so now I'm going to save it. Let me change the color to, oops, that's 2D color. That's fine. Make this a nice pink. Just like we saw over here. Nice pink. Okay, so now it's a pink plug, which you can see right there. 2D color, oh, I don't know, I'll make it orange. Okay, so click OK. So, but it's still on the outside. Now we need to move it on the inside. So to do that, you come back up here to the pod, and we're going to change the location of the pod. So I'm going to edit the pod, and I'm going to go over here to the radial position, click on that tab, and now I want to see a base view of the rocket so I can see where that bulkhead is. Right now it's there. And I'm going to uncheck these and then just use the slider bar right here. And it was that simple. I just moved it on the inside. So if I look at it in 3D again, you don't see it because it's on the inside. If I look at it from the side view, you know, you see it right here, and click OK. So now I got 2 of these pods. So I'm going to take this first one and delete it. So I'm going to highlight it and hit delete and say yes. Okay, so now at this point we've got the mass of the rocket, and how do we check it to see if the pod or our ejection plug actually leaves the rocket? You can come up here, go back to the pod. So first note the mass of the rocket, 42.523 grams. And this pod weighs 0.6 grams. So it should drop down to 41.923 grams. So that's what we want to see when that pod or the ejection piston comes out. So go to the pod, edit the pod, double click on it. And so again, it shows the mass right here. And there's a little box right here that says mark this pod as ejected. So when we mark it, what we want to see is this weight drop down. And sure enough, it drops down. So now we know that when the ejection charge goes off, it's going to spit out that ejection piston, and the piston's going to fall away from the rocket all by itself, and we don't have to worry about it. So that was like a super advanced topic. You know, I wouldn't do it. I would do the first method. The first method was just use a mass object, but then you could also use a bulkhead, and then you can also use an ejection plug pod. Oh, that was very long. That was a good question. Before I go to the other questions, I got this other computer here because I did get one other question that came in via email. And I want to answer that one while I still got it here. So here's the email, and it was from Mark Sternat. And he says a question about importing boosters to an existing rocket. So he says, hello, I just started out with RockSim, and yes, there is a learning curve, which I fully acknowledge. My question is, so I don't wander down the wrong hole, is I have the Estes Vagabond rocket, which I tried using epoxy for the fin fillets versus my usual glue, and added some weight to the 4-fin rocket. He didn't ask a question there, but so basically it's the most common question people have is, what do you do about weight? And the answer is use a mass object because it's easy. Okay, so then he says, I purchased your strap-on booster to add to the Vagabond. So what's a strap-on booster? Strap-on booster. Okay, so here's the strap-on booster pods. And so let me bring up a larger picture. So we got a clear rocket here, and the clear rocket is like a ghost because what we're selling is the pods and these little hooks that go on the side of the rocket. Okay. And this is all what you get in there. This is what the hooks look like as of today. But here's the least boring thing that's happened in the last 3 weeks is I redesigned these strap-on booster hooks because these are made out of urethane resin. But we've been selling these pods like water. People love these things. And at some point it gets very expensive to keep making the same item over and over again out of urethane resin. So what we're going to do is we're going to have them injection molded, and it's the coolest thing. We got the samples in last week, and they're awesome. They're just so gorgeous. They're stronger because they're made out of high impact polystyrene. They're lighter weight because they're hollow on the inside where these are solid. And they're skinnier because I have to play with the wall thickness to make sure that they're injection molded. So they're actually smaller, lighter, and stronger. And you notice if you look at these, the surface finish on a urethane part, you can't get the greatest that surface finish. But then on the injection molded ones, glass smooth. So they're more aerodynamic. So that's going to make your rocket even better. And I'm so excited. The production run has started on those, and those will be coming probably within the next 2 months. As soon as they finish the production run. The tooling is done, now it's production run, and then shipping here, which always seems to take the longest, especially with UPS and COVID stuff. You know, it's still affecting the shipping industry. So his question is, okay, so he bought those. My question, once I have the Vagabond showing, and I can get this new CG and CP, if I can figure out where to add the weight and then adding the boosters, can I import the booster file and add to the Vagabond? Or will I have to enter each part of the booster to the existing Vagabond? Okay, so I think his question is, this is how I would state it. I'm being a little bit lazy and I just want to do things fast and easy. Is there a quick way to copy parts from this on our website? Because I think we even have a RockSim file for it. Yeah, so if you click on it, you can actually download the RockSim file for the strap-on boosters. And so he wants to take that file and add it to the Vagabond. Now, most people use Windows, so that's why I got my Windows computer here today. And so I'm going to switch over to Windows, and I'm going to need to take my mouse, switch my mouse, plug that into Windows. And I'm going to do this on Windows because I discovered a fast way to do what he wants to do. And I think this will make him happy and make a lot of other people happy as well. So let me move this computer out of the way. Hopefully everything is going okay. Okay, let me come over here. Switch this. Okay, so now I got my Windows computer. So I downloaded the Vagabond RockSim file. This is not on the Apogee website. I got this from rocketreviews.com. So let me give him a plug. So rocketreviews.com, and I basically, what I did to find the file is I just did a search on the internet. Estes Vagabond RockSim file. And this is what came up. And so I downloaded it here and opened it up in RockSim. And so now we want to add pods. And so what we need to do is, can we copy paste this into the Vagabond file? And the answer is maybe. But what we really need is 2 copies of RockSim open at the same time. One showing the strap-on booster pods and the other one showing the Vagabond. So how do you get 2 copies of RockSim running at the same time on your computer? And so I just Googled this, like how do you get 2 instances of a program running on your computer at the same time? Windows 10, which is what I'm running here. And the answer was, go down to your taskbar, find your icon, and do a shift click. And you notice my little wheel is spinning there, so something's going on in the background. And what this will do is we'll open up RockSim a second time. And you can see on the screen, there's RockSim firing up. And so now we have another instance of RockSim. So we have RockSim running 2 times. And so now we're going to open a file here, copy the components, kind of like what we did before, and then paste them over here. So first I need to open up the strap-on boosters. So I'm in RockSim. I'm in the design folder. Go to the design folder. I'm going to the Apogee components. Let's see if it's in there. And no. I'm looking for the strap-on boosters. Okay, so let's go to Google Chrome and go to apogeerockets.com. And we'll go to the, and download it. I'll just download it, kind of like what you will probably do, right? This computer is like really slow. That's why I like using the Mac. Again, strap-on boosters. There they are. And just come down here to where it says RockSim file, click on that, and it's going to jump you down to the bottom of the page. And you can click on strap-on booster file. You can see it downloading. It downloaded it. Okay, so now it downloaded into my downloads folder. So I'm going to close this. Go to my downloads folder. So here's downloads folder. And wakey wakey. Come on. I downloaded something today. Where did I put it? It says a long time ago. I know I downloaded it. I'm not a Windows expert, so show in folder. Okay, see, there it is. I don't know why it should have opened it up. So there it is. Strap-on booster rocket. So I'm going to open that. It's going to unzip it. And so there it is. So now I just need to open this in RockSim. So here's the file, and here is RockSim. I'm going to cancel here. And just take it and drag it. That should work. This works on a Mac. Why doesn't it work on Windows? Users, Ashley, this is my daughter. This is her old computer. Download strap-on booster rocket. So we'll do it the hard way. Users. Where's users? See, I'm not seeing it there. This computer. If you know what I'm doing wrong, let me know. Windows, I hate you. What's the name of this file? Strap-on boosters. Let's see if it can find it this way. I don't know if it's searching or not. All right. Let's do this a different way. Let's drag this onto the desktop. Did it go to the desktop? Copy to desktop. Okay. Okay, it's on the desktop. Let's see if I can find it on the desktop. There it is. No, here it is. Strap-on booster rocket. Open. Okay, so it opened it. I know it's a little small because I just don't have a lot of screen space on this computer. So that's the strap-on booster that we want to take. So let's go to Design Components and find the strap-on booster pod. So here's the starboard pod. And I'm going to do a copy. So copied it to the clipboard. Now I'm going to go over to the Vagabond rocket. And first I need to determine where I'm going to paste it. And we got several tubes here. So this tube right here is down here. Yeah, let's paste it to that one. And do a paste and see if it worked. And it worked. It pasted it, but it pasted it down here. So now, again, like we did before, this is a pod. So if we edit the location of the pod, we should be able to move it where we want. So I'm going to open it up, and let me make this bigger so you can see it. So right now it's attached right here, 7.75 inches from the owning part. And where did that 7.75 come from? And that was because on the other instance of RockSim, it was attached 7.75 inches from that owning part. So that was so here's the tube that owns it, and it's 7.75 inches back from there. So that's why we're seeing 7.75 inches. So if we change this to 0, see what happens. See, it moved it, but it didn't move it quite enough. We need to move it even further forward. So let's take the slider and just slide it until the back of the tube is where we want it, right there. Let's look at it from the rear view to see if it's interfering with a fin. And yes, so that one is interfering with a fin. So we need to rotate it around. So I'm going to go to the radial position tab, and I'll just slide it over to, let's slide it right, I want to nest it right up against the fin. Right there, so that's 25.99 degrees. Okay, I'll click OK. So now the pod is attached, but now we need 2 of them. So we're going to do that again. We're going to, but this time I'm going to copy this component because it has all the adjustments made to it. I'm going to do a copy, and then I'm going to go back up here to this body tube and paste it. Again, right-click with your mouse. Okay, and it pasted it right here, and then we got 2 instances of starboard pod. So let's make the other one a port side pod. So I'm going to edit. I got to edit the location anyway, because right now it's right here. So this one's going to be the port pod. Port side pod. And let's go to the radial position. So I want to go 25.99, and we want to add or subtract 180 degrees from that. So I'm going to go to a calculator on my other computer here, which you can't see, so I could just do the math. Come on, calculator doesn't want to show up. Too much going on. Okay, so we'll just slide it around. I'm just going to slide it over here. We got a remnant showing up here. We got one of the components internal didn't want to, it got its math confused. So then we'd have to find that component, which one it is. Let's go to the base view. So let's see if I can click on that component. No, but it's green. So if I go to a side view, find something that's green. So here's the pod. So it might be that green ring right there. Nope, I clicked on the fin. I'm just seeing if we got more time. Save your changes? No. Body tube. We got an engine tube. It could be the engine tube. Forward centering ring. Let's check the engine tube. Nope. Oh, look, whatever it was, it moved way farther now. That's interesting. Maybe the engine block. Nope, it's not the engine block. Forward centering ring? Yes, it's the forward centering ring. Why did its position is just like all jacked up. So what you would probably do, the easiest way to fix that is to just delete the component and just add it back in. And I don't want to spend the time doing that because this Windows computer is just too slow. So that should answer that question on how do you copy and paste parts from one rocket into another rocket. So I am going to come back here to the Mac, and then we can go start answering other questions because I know there were some other questions in the chat. Okay. Oh man. Okay, so we're back on the Mac. I just feel more comfortable when I'm on the Mac because I know what I'm doing. And I found the calculator. It was on the other screen. Fat Bank says, Tim, the file is compressed. Unzip the file in the downloads folder. So yeah, that was on Windows, so he's probably right. I did unzip it because I opened it. Fat Bank says, how stable is the RockSim beta version? He's talking about what I talked about earlier, what we're coming out with. So if you go to RockSim, how-to and guides, go to software, version history right here, and it was version 10.4, which is right here, and this is going to be a beta. We're going to release it as a beta. And he's asking, how stable is it? Well, we fixed a lot of crashes, and we didn't create any new crashes. So hopefully that fixed a majority of the crashes. Does it fix all of the crashes? That's the question that we're still trying to answer. So it should be a lot more stable, Fat Bank. Should be a lot more stable, but somebody's going to find a crash. It always happens. Okay, so Rick DeFossa says, how about rockets that come down in two parts like the Megalander? It's technically not a multi-stage rocket. Man, that's a long answer. So that's a good question. So Megalander, okay, so here's the Megalander, and it's a two-part rocket. So let me show pictures here. So that's what it looks like. This is a person photographing it because it's such a gorgeous rocket. That's a launch. You get two parachutes. It's again sitting on the pad, take off, going up. Okay, so what we're saying is it's coming down in two parts. Okay, so doing this is a little bit more complicated. Let me, if we're running really low on time here, so let me see if we've talked about this before in the RockSim live training. So if you're on the training page, do a find, which is Command F on the Mac or Control F on Windows. It brings up this here, and let's say two parts. No, separate parts. Oops, here we go. Right here, look. Simulating a rocket that splits into two parts at Apogee. This is episode number 43. You go to that YouTube video, and you go to the 16-minute and 25-second part of that video, and you'll have the answer. Let's see. I tried to do this in the launch visualizer at RockSim.com. Let's see if I did it. I thought I did. Let me log in. So now we're kind of showing the launch visualizer here. And I'm going to choose a design. And the design I wanted was, I think I did it with the Quest Courier. Okay, Quest Courier Tarp configuration. So this is set up where it should come down in two parts. So let's see, I'll show you how I set it up. So if you go here to select a motor, you'll notice this is a single stage rocket, but when I go to select motors, I got two rockets showing up, two tubes that have to have rocket motors in it. So the first one is the 18 millimeter tube, and that's the one down here. But what is this one that's 38 millimeters? Well, what I did was I turned this rocket into a two-stage rocket. So the bottom part is the part here on the bottom, you know, like from the bar to the bottom, and then the top stage is just the nose cone. But to make it a two-stage rocket, you have to have an engine tube in it. So I assigned that tube, which there's a ring somewhere in this nose cone. There's a straight section. So I made that an engine tube so I could put an engine in it, even though I'm not going to put an engine in it. And then to launch it, this engine here is fictitional. So I created in RockSim a fictitional engine. Why is it not letting me click on it? There we go. And I think I put it under the Apogee motors. Show all engines. Okay, so I created a fake motor called Dart, and this is on the launch visualizer that you have access to. So I'm going to put that in the upper stage, and I'm going to say that this is a, let's call it a custom delay, and I'm going to call it a 3-second delay, because I'm going to put a C6-3 in the booster. And so I want the parachute to come out. Actually, I'm going to need 0 seconds. I'm going to use 0 seconds. And click OK. And then on the bottom tube, the 18 millimeter one down at the bottom, I'm going to put a C6-3 in there. So I'm going to go down to the Estes motors and C6-3. Click OK. And then under the flight events, you'll notice I got 2 parachutes and a staging event. So the staging event is going to happen at maximum ejection delay. So when the rocket takes off, the maximum ejection delay is 3 seconds. And that's when we want it to stage. And that's going to separate the top part, the nose cone, from the bottom part. And so that's set up right. And then parachute 2, which is this one, is showing in the booster stage. You can see that by this symbol right here. Compare it to this one right here. So this one is the top stage. This is the bottom stage. So this is the top stage. I want that one to deploy at a time after ignition of 0 seconds. So when the 3 seconds of the booster motor burns out, it's going to ignite the top stage, that Dart motor. Well, that Dart motor is a fictional motor, so it's a 0 second delay, or its burn time is like a nanosecond. And then I want the parachute to pop out. So that's why I'm saying time after ignition. Yeah. So as soon as it ignites, just eject. So that's the way it's set up. So when we launch it, let's see if this is set up right, and we simulate it. And it's running the simulation. Come on, where are you? This is what I'm worried about. Where'd my simulation go? It went somewhere. Oh, wait a minute, that's a C6-5. Did I click on cancel? Simulate. Simulation running. I must have clicked cancel. No, it did it again. Blast. Rerun that one. See if that one works. Why am I not being able to run simulations? Ah, man. Let me try a different rocket design. Choose a design. Let's try the grappler. Select. There's the grappler. Let's select the motor. Choose an engine. F15. Let's call it a 6. Okay. The parachute will eject at maximum ejection delay. Launch. Simulate. See, this is what we should have got. Yeah, so must have been something in that design. So you can see the launch pad here. So this is the our launch site in Pueblo, Colorado. This is the SCORE Rocket Club. The pads are here. People park here in the parking lot, and if you zoom way out, you can see this is a really big field. Yeah, so you can see the property line here. You can kind of see the fence line here. And so you can see when we launch it, the rocket's taking off. And it's going really slow. It's picking up speed now. It's getting higher. And while it's going, I can rotate the view around, look at it from any view I want. So that's what the launch visualizer is. And now my egg lofting rocket didn't work. I don't know why. But that was a good question. So simulating a rocket that splits into two. Maybe we'll talk about it again next week, since it's been, we're on episode 66, did I say? So it's been 20 weeks, so that's been several months. So we can talk about, maybe maybe next week. Johan says, hey, I did a split recovery in March. It was cool. That was great. So he followed the instructions. Awesome. Packed the nose cone chute under the tail chute in the tail section. Had a small chamfer of a BT-80 coupler where both chutes fitted in. Oh, he's talking about he did it in real life. You got to do it in RockSim. It's much more fun. Well, it's not as fun. I was afraid if I did it the other way around, the nose cone chute would blow out in the nose section. So what he's saying is he's got two parachutes in his rocket. So he put the chute that attaches to the nose cone behind the chute that attaches to the fins, so that it would definitely it's coming out. If one chute comes out, because what he didn't want to happen was this one come out with its parachute and leave the parachute here for that one. This is why pistons work really good, because pistons, everything's coming out. And then it doesn't matter which order you put them in. But if you're just using like regular Estes recovery wadding, putting the upper parachute behind the lower parachutes is not a bad thing. It's just making sure that they come out in the right order. Let's see, what else did I miss? Rick DeFossa says, when using motor adapters, is the best way to account for them a mass object? Will it really matter in the simulation? And the answer to Rick is yes. Just use a mass object, because the motor adapter doesn't really affect the aerodynamics of the rocket or the drag. A mass object will work just fine. So anything on the inside, mass object works just fine. Except for something that's going to eject out, which was what we talked about today. All right, so I'm sure there's more questions. There was a lot of comments today. Thank you all for the comments and the questions. It was keeps me on my toes, and yeah, I'll have to go through them all to make sure that I got them all covered. And if not, we'll cover them next week. Yes, I will be here next week. It's in 2 weeks. We'll probably have a guest host, maybe Michelle again. My daughter is graduating from university, so I got to go to that. It's graduation season, and so she's graduating, so I'll go to that. And then sometime later in the month, I have a nephew that's graduating from the United States Air Force Academy here in town, here in Colorado Springs. He'll become a graduate, and so I would like to go see his graduation because it's cool. I've been working with the cadets. They've got a rocket club, and they come down to our launch site in Pueblo all the time, and they're flying rockets, and they're doing stuff just like we do. They're not doing anything special. I wish they would be doing something special, but they're just learning. They're students, so they're just learning like everybody else. They use RockSim too. So if any cadets are watching at the Air Force Academy, thanks for watching. Okay, so we've got to end the stream. So yeah, so this is where we call it quits for the day. Thanks again for showing up. We'll be here again next Friday, 2 p.m. Mountain Time, which is 4 p.m. on the East Coast, which is like 10 p.m. in the Netherlands for Johan de Sloper. And I'm sure it's not that late in Brazil. Thanks for watching from Brazil. It was great having you all this week. And again, we'll see you next time. So in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go out and launch something.